Okay. All right, we are talking about uprighting position today. Let me just get ready here. When facing our brethren who are carriers of physical handicaps, try to maintain an upright mental and social position. Treat them with neither unjustified compassion nor cold indifference. Your impaired brother or sister awaits a dignified opportunity in order to exercise the task for which they find themselves on earth and fulfill it to its end. They are someone who is recovering from lamentable past errors, the same as you. The marks and limitations that you perceive on them do not constitute malediction or a motive for abandonment. You also possess deficiencies and limits, perhaps graver, with the only difference being that yours are hidden and others ignore them. Previously, in several civilizations and cultures, a physically handicapped person at birth was ostentatiously put to death mercilessly. Humans pilgrimage, therefore, from instinct to reason, without having been benefited with the gift of love. With Jesus, the blessing of solidarity was transformed into every person's obligation towards one another. The physically handicapped person is psychically normal, a person based on common language with feelings and reasoning that makes them see the world, however, through the optic of how they are received and treated. Okay, so we have this very sensible lesson from Joanna de Angelis, okay, that she brings to us uh, from the title, the upright position or the right uh, position that we should be having when we are talking about brothers and sisters that present any kind of physical impairment. Um, she's trying here to say that, well, not trying, she's telling us that being born with a physical handicap doesn't mean that you are less of a person, less of a spirit, less of a child of God than anyone else. Everything is related to the need we have to our spiritual evolution, related, of course, as well to our past actions and our choices, because we normally tend to choose our life condition before our reincarnation. Having said all that, she's here trying to explain to us that just because we will be having people among us that will present physical deficiencies, because in this paragraph she's basically talking about physical deficiencies, she's not talking yet about mental impairment. Okay, she is trying first to call our attention to say you should not have any different behavior towards them, differentiating them from other people from society. meaning to say that they wanted to be treated with respect, with consideration, have the same opportunities like everyone else. They don't need a special treatment as a person. They may need, of course, special conditions to move about, but this is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about relationship and the way we treat people with consideration. And this means to say that we, in terms of physical possibilities, of course, we are going to be working on things that will help them to be able to participate in the life of society. But then she talks about something that is very important for us to think about. When we are talking about physical impairments and we look at it as being, something bad, or even punishment from God, or whatever the way we think about it, she says, don't forget that perhaps you do not have any kind of physical impairments, but you may have moral impairments that are much more serious than having a physical impairment. And the only difference being that sometimes people will not acknowledge them at first. So if we are thinking about fixing things, we should stop try to think about fixing our own imperfections and not focusing on the physical imperfections, impairments of others. Any questions or comments so far? I'm sure Joanna de Angelis is not trying to say here that they will not live or face difficulties, okay? But there are, or be that, or that the physical impairment is not going to be to them a sort of, burden, a difficult situation to go through. But we go through difficult situations for different reasons. We may have difficulties in terms of financial difficulties, in terms of family difficulties, in terms of health-wise difficulties. We may have other things that, even if you do not have any kind of physical impairment, it still is going to be difficult for you. So this is their choice of trial or expiation, so to say. As to us, it can be another one. It can be that we will choose having a very difficult life where we will barely be able to have any kind of education, and of course this is going to impact our life in the future, or having very difficult parents that will impact our life in the future, or difficult brothers and sisters that will impair our life in the future. So everything, in a way, these are their trials like everyone else have their trials. These are their burdens like everyone else have their burdens. Okay. Let me see here what Orlando said. um, Several civilizations, we spiritists know we are incarnate spirit, and if we have impairment, it may be related to trials. Exactly, Orlando. It is related to trials. We have more paragraphs to read here where she's going to address more the whole situation. And so I'll wait a little bit not to go ahead, but definitely, like we were saying, we will choose trials or even atonements according to our possibilities and according to what we believe it's going to be more effective to us, and even sometimes, for us to move away faster. Because what happens sometimes is that it comes to a point where we are spirits that we say, okay, I spent my last 5 incarnations gathering little by little, a bit here, a bit there of, spiritual improvement. Now, I think it's time for me to move a bit faster. What could I do? I still have, some situations that I have to make amends, some, atonement from the past, and I'm willing to perhaps choose a life of, more difficulty, more sacrifice in order to advance uh, faster. And this I will choose because now I have the condition to withstand the pain, the burden, the difficulties that this or that situation is going to represent in my return to the physical life. So this is more or less what can happen in a situation like this. We always say, each case is a different case. We cannot say that all the stories are the same, but overall, generally speaking, that would be, the situation where we are going to find ourselves and make the choices that will help us to advance faster. Any comments, questions? So let's read a little more. This is actually a very big text that we have for today. If you give them, the physical impaired, the opportunity to actualize and self-actualize, they will see the world as humane and worthy, dignifying themselves in the fight and growing in jubilation and enthusiasm. If you clip their step, denying them the opportunity, either due to prejudice or the thought of inferiority on your part, you will offer them an erroneous vision of earth, allowing them to become bitter, fall into depression, alienate themselves, etc. Excellent workers reveal themselves as suffering from physical handicaps. They perfect values, develop other aptitudes, and ground themselves with dedication to the accomplishment to which they give themselves. Whatever the physical limitation of your neighbor may be, they find themselves on earth as it occurs with yourself, with the superior objective to grow, redeeming themselves from yesterday and designing tomorrow. Honor them with the concession of a moment in order to demonstrate the value with which they are gifted. In case you had a problem of this nature, you would yearn for an opportunity for work to make you fulfilled. Do not get them used to the humiliating handouts that they do not need. Cooperate to educate them, provide them with a profession, and help them exercise it nobly. So this is the reason why in this lesson particularly she's talking about the physical impairments, because she's saying here, that physical impairments should not refrain anyone from having an ordinary life like everyone else. Of course, like we said, you may need special conditions. You may need, thicker glasses, hearing aids. You may need a ramp to go to your work or to move about, depending on the physical impairment we are talking about here. But at the end of the day, you have a clear mind. You have a possibility of being part of society. And the only thing that sometimes is missing is us that do not present physical impairments being insensitive to the needs of them. the needs to move about, the needs to be participating in the society, the needs to have, opportunities for, work. And the more they are treated as equal, because they are, the more they will actually be engaging in society, and not being subject to, bitterness, depression, alienating themselves. So many people think about them, instead of, they are apart from society, and they even help with giving alms, is, giving money. But they what they need is opportunities, the same way that we need opportunities. So like she says here, whatever the physical limitation they may present, they are here with the same objective as us, which is to grow, to redeem themselves from the past, and to be able to redesign, to design their tomorrow. It's the same thing that everyone else is doing. The only thing that we need is for us to stop seeing them as being impaired, in the sense that they cannot give any kind of contribution to society. Questions, comments? This is a very, very beautiful and important lesson, I think.
I have a comment and a
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
First with a comment. Thank you for bringing this topic. It's beautiful, like you said. And it reminds me of my mom. She's a teacher, and she loves coming home and sometimes sharing um, just some of the experiences she had during her day at work. And I remember um, one day, well, many days, but one specifically that she shared um, just how beautiful the work with physically impaired children, how it can be challenging, but at the same time, it touches on what you were saying, giving them the opportunity to grow, opportunity to develop themselves and to contribute to society and to themselves, right? So that reminded me of um, what my mom shared with me, and it's very beautiful that we're seeing this today. Um, the question is, what we were talking about, well, on the text, it related to um, maybe trials or something they might have done wrong, right? And that's maybe why um, they chose that in this life, right? But I remember that there are also the possibility of the opposite. So maybe it's something that they, because of the trials of the things they want to grow and develop in this life, they it's not necessarily a punishment, but something that they want to develop. And I think you maybe once you give us an example of what if Mozart, Beethoven were to come back, and if they wanted to be, uh, they wanted to choose a different path coming back, and maybe being deaf would be something that would allow them to have a different perspective, a different experience. I like to ask you to kind of explore that a little bit to explain to us.
I don't know if I got that quite well, Tiago. I'm so sorry, because you said you were doing the comment. I didn't get what would be the question.
Oh, so the question is, we saw that earlier she said on the text that um, this life, the physical impairment is it can be related to something that you might have done wrong in the previous life, right? And as we were talking, we understood it was more related to trials. And I remember that in one of our meetings that we had before, you gave an example of what if Beethoven or Mozart were to come back and try to have a different experience because of the trials and things that they want to have, and maybe they would choose to be deaf, to not hear, so they would have a different perspective. So um, I wanted to hear your what you have to say about the other side too. What if it's not necessarily a punishment, but something that um, they chose to have a different perspective?
Well, it's never punishment. Okay, anything that goes with us is never punishment. Punishment doesn't exist. Okay, we use this word, we use this vocabulary, we still keep this vocabulary because we are respectful for the way we had it written before in the holy books and even in the codification. And so even when we, whether using the original in French or using in the translations, I mean, we try as much as we can to maintain the texts with the vocabulary that was utilized during the time of Kardec and of course in the holy books. So punishment is still an idea that we had, especially when we think about a God that is not a God of love, that is a God of a vengeful God. So um, we could use this word or think about punishment when we say, I'm the one that is going to punish myself, not God. God, the good spirits, would never be punishing us. But there is the law. There is a law that we have to respect. And it's up to us, due to our free will, to respect or not do that. So when looking back, when analyzing our past actions, and this, considering all the incarnations that we had, and analyzing the areas that we have urged more and that we have compromised even our spiritual integrity, we will say this is like I have a stain. Let's say that somehow I compromise myself a lot with the use in the area of the legs for whatever reason. Okay. I wasn't cautious. I was there in Rome with those Roman cars, those Roman races, and I would be the one throwing my horses so that the other one, my competition, would be thrown away from their cars and horses and be hit by the other ones, losing their legs. Whatever I did in this case, to me or to others, it's like I have a stain in this area that do not allow me to fly high, so to say. So it comes to a point that we start growing and growing and growing, but we look at ourselves, spiritually speaking, as the Spirit says, that area is still shadowy. Maybe it's time for me now to do something about it, to make amends with my conscience, with the guilty that I still carry because of that is there, registered in our spirit. And at the same time that I will be making amends, atoning for that, I can contribute to the progress, or to make people understand that it's not because my legs are not functioning that I cannot be part of society. You see, so we have movements, or places like now, for instance, in New York City, if you have to do any kind of uh, construction in your home, if you do any kind of construction in your bathroom or in your home, you have to make it in a way that can accommodate a future possibility of a handicap wanting to buy that home. So you see, those all of that is progress. Of course, we are talking about past, very old things and very recent things, but everything is one step after the next. So there is no punishment, but there is the law, and the law um uh, invites us to reach peace of mind. And in order for us to reach peace of mind, we have somehow to clear our debts. I don't know if anything else that you would like to me to say in this sense, or
Yeah, yeah, no, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It's a perspective that God is a God of love, right? And it's an opportunity for ourselves, an invitation for ourselves uh,
mm-hmm.
to do better this time around. Thank you.
And like I said, sometimes from the outside we may see a person that is bound to a wheelchair, and we say, oh my God, what a horrible life this person must lead. And maybe this person has this support of a family, even has no perhaps financial work or this or that. And then we have another person that doesn't show anything, and it's married to a tyrant, to someone that abuses the family, where we find domestic violence, for instance. The person is not showing anything. You don't see anything. But this person perhaps is suffering more than the other one that is in a wheelchair. So this is what Joanna de Angelis is calling our attention to. At the same time that we will not privilege or make a difference with people because they are, I mean, we are obviously being conscientious, sensitive, and do whatever we need for them to, to accommodate them. Like for instance, yourselves, right? You know that I don't hear very well. You have to speak louder all the time. You want to speak to Susara. Okay, so you all make an effort to communicate with me, right? And this is the way that she's saying here. We do what we need to do, but there are cases where we don't see the suffering, and the suffering is there, and the situation is there. Let's see what Orlando said here. My sister was completely retarded in life, and I suffer more than her. The problem is having physical body that allow us to feel and view suffering in death. Yeah, like we said, Orlando, today we are more talking about the physical impairment than the mental impairments. But even in both cases, be it physically impaired or mental impaired, of course the family has something to do with it. uh, we know, even if it is being very altruistic, it doesn't mean that I have to be part of uh, the situation, like going back to the Roman races. Let's say that I have people that work it with me that would instigate me to do that and to be very dirty in the competitions, and to try to overthrow others by hitting them and going on top of them, things like that. Of course, I myself who did that will have the biggest share of the pie, of redemption, in terms of making amends. But the other ones that but the other ones that are were instigating me to do that as well, they also have their commitment. It's not as serious as mine, but they have it. So now, 21 centuries later, I'm finally ready to erase this past from my spiritual nature. I say, okay, I think the only solution is to reincarnate with a problem in my legs. And then these people that were there, perhaps instigating me, will say, you know what? I'm going to be your brother or sister, or I'm going to be that dedicated nurse that you are going to get during this trial, or a parent, because I also have a responsibility in what happened to you. I could have gone to you and say, this is very bad what you're doing, instead of saying, yeah, do that. You see, so we never by chance together with situations like that, with situations of, atonements, making amends, of trials. So when the family leaves those situations, they leave the situation because this situation as well is going to help them to grow. Okay, so let's read a bit more. Not all of those who are physically handicapped find themselves in punishment. Steinmetz, limited by a tormenting deformity, became a master of electrical research, leaving patents for more than 200 inventions. Milton, blind and plagued with a walking disability, offered humanity the outstanding Paradise Lost, considered one of the most beautiful poems of the English language. Beethoven, deaf, was better able to compose, leaving to history the legacy of the Grand Ninth Symphony, which is considered the most perfect and beautiful, surpassing the prior ones. Pasteur, victimized by persistent illness, contributed decisively to uncover microbial life. Limited in ministry of light, they were teaching the strong and healthy human beings to not deter themselves, nor to lean on walking sticks as an excuse to escape from the fight. So that's the way now Joanna de Angelis always addresses to us. She presents the facts, she shows ways, and now she's giving examples, she's giving facts to us. Look at these people. We are still today talking about them because they were exceptional in the sense that they did not allow their difficulties, or in this case, even impairments, to be in the way of what they had to do or what they could be doing. And they become, you know, great representatives. And the same way, like themselves, uh, maybe when we live an ordinary life, we don't live this kind of legacy. But this is all she's talking about here, asking us to do. You know, be the change you want to see in the world. Allow others that may have difficulties in the sense to lead a dignified life as well, and to have the same opportunities as everyone else. Questions, comments?
I have comment.
Yeah.
First of all, we are all imperfection. We all. in the same level. But talking about the physical deficiency, then I'd like to say about kids. Kids' behavior is totally different because they uh, cannot see the imperfections, and they usually treat the others with physical deficiency like equal. I, when they behave different, is because the parents push them back for not this behavior. Then for me, it's very special because I can see this many times. Kids treat the others with equal, not. It's like they cannot see the physical deficient for the others. And I think it's special. Then we should behave like this.
Yeah. Anyone else? Come on, you're so quiet. Zoraida?
Yes, yes. I actually was thinking the other day I had spoken about uh, actually two beautiful people that live in my building. One is a blind lady, and the other gentleman is a man who lost his legs. I am assuming through the war, and I see their strength. Sometimes I want to go to them and tell them something, how much I admire them because they seem so calm in their way of living. This the blind lady, she comes down and I see her frequently in the shopping center, walking to the shopping center, and she does her thing on her own, and no one knows her private life, of course not in her daily lives at home. But I admire her because she goes on her own. She has her a walking stick that she works with as a blind lady, and so determined, and she walks with this dignity that I look at her and I don't feel sorry for her. I just look through her. She has seemed to have so much strength. And the gentleman with no legs, he everyone in the neighborhood knows him because in summertime or spring he has music that he goes around sharing with people. And I love him because he plays music from my time. And every time I see him, I look at him and he inspires me so with his music. And I think that's so beautiful from we look at and say, oh my God, they're handicapped. But no, then it's like you said, suffering. It's not suffering, it's going through work and becoming the best that we can. But I look at them much more different than before, learning about Spiritism and why we're here and why we go through what we go through. But we have to look at that with a lot of understanding, a lot of love. That is not punishment, and yet they give me inspiration. And when I do my prayers, many times I think of them, and I send down as much as I can love and strengthen. And it is so different to understand that we shouldn't look at those that are going through their work with pity, but with admiration, and give them the light of prayers and assistance as much as we can. So.
Yeah. And you see here, the first phrase that she writes is, not all of those who are physically handicapped find themselves in punishment. Remember, the punishing, when we are talking about punishment here, we are always talking about,
Yeah, right.
you punishing yourselves, right? Um, what did she want to say here is because and what you were commenting, Soraya, led me to be reminded of this, is the more we see people that go through this kind of condition uh, being accepted or accepted accepts their situation, being more resigned, so to say, but not resigned in the in the good way, not resigned in the negative way, the more we see that in their cases it's not really a punishment. It's just uh, when they own their actions, they're conscious, claim for that, and they come well prepared,
Yes.
spiritually mature, already to go through that, and so uh, they endure it in a very stoic way,
Yeah.
with and not like in other cases. And this is when we will say, no, this is an atonement, this is an expiation, when they make everyone's life a living hell,
Yeah.
because you see blaming others, blaming God,
Yeah.
uh, you know uh, trying to put everything on others' shoulder. So this, they are showing that they are not learning the lesson. And until we learn the lesson, we are not rid of having to go through the lesson again,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yes, go ahead.
No, no. I'm only saying that we have to look at ourselves, and sometimes we go through our challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
it might be something that's minute,
Mm-hmm.
and we go through, oh my God, I can't take this. Oh, you lose your
Mm-hmm.
self-control, and you're beyond anyone helping you. So that this is why we have to look at this and say, you know, oh my God, I'm going through this little problem. I have no problem. Get over it
Yeah.
and do what you have to do and move on. This is sometimes ridiculous, but the Spiritism teaches us, hey, we're here for whatever reason. Do the best you can. Keep working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep working and doing the best you can.
Okay, exactly. Let me see, Orlando. Okay, and the spirit world do something about incarnating the fact that human beings is spirit in a physical body. Actually, they are doing right, Orlando, because they are here helping us. They are here giving us advice for us not to compromise ourselves even more, because all our actions have reactions. So they are trying to the best they can. We cannot interfere with the life of others, but we can guide others. And but whether or not we are going to accept this guidance and the advices is up to us. So this is what many of spirits are doing. Spirits like Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, that we heard, that could be living in much more evolved worlds than ours, that is still remain connected to planet Earth to help us. And so yeah, they are doing their share. Now it's up to us to do our share. Let's read this last paragraph.
Okay.
With or without handicaps that you may see yourself objecting to, cooperate with your brethren in the fight, working with them like Jesus, next to the suffering of all natures, renewing, liberating spirits and hearts, and leading them to the kingdom of God, that after all is found within each one of us. A single phrase that she says here that could be a subject of a thesis, right? The kingdom of God is found within each one of us. I think we have to meditate about it, because again, she's hinting to us here, listen, not only it's up to you, but it's in you, right? It's what we are going to do, it's our choices, right? And we are here to evolve, and we are here to help others evolve as we expect others to help us in the same, in the same way, in this path as well. So um, I think that this lesson is very beautiful because also it states again that we are not the physical body.
Yeah.
We are, it's not so much more than that. We are something else.
Yes.
We are spirit. And the physical body is just a garment. And sometimes this garment is going to be working, you know, the best it can. Sometimes it will not. But all because of our choices, all because of our needs in order for us to become the light that we should be. Okay, any comment more? Let's see. Last week we have non-conformism and rebellion. Oh my God. That's going to be a lesson. Okay, let me stop sharing it. Any question more? Any comments?
I have a question
Mhm.
because you, they mention about punish, atonement, expiation, and trials, and then this is not true. Then not exactly for the person who has a handicaps problem. The trial maybe is for their families, the person who is responsible to take care of them. I think it's important to know about this because many times people look at someone with physical deficient and then believe, oh, they are in this situation because they try about their past lives and not exactly for them. Maybe they are the beautiful spirits and then use this incarnation to help others part of their family. Is this true?
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes, perhaps there will always be something in the past, but like I said, when the person has overcome that and has grown in spirit, they are going to look at their impairments in the way that Joanna de Angelis is explaining here. It's not because I have an impairment that I cannot be an ordinary person and do things and achieve things and find happiness and live in peace. So they will give not that much importance and as others would be giving, but they accept this kind of trial also to motivate, exactly like you said, to give an impulse on the involvement of those that are involved with them directly. So let's call the family members and saying, those are people that need to develop more compassion, more tolerance. To every time they will complain about their lives, they will see their brother or sister or husband or wife or daughter or son bound in a wheelchair, and they will say, oh, I should stop complaining. You see, all of those lessons that sometimes we say, oh my God, my life is so horrible, and then you see someone going blind next to you and you say, what am I saying, right? Why am I thinking, thank God, it's not that bad. So and so for whatever reason we the objective is the same, is to lead others and with their examples. There is a beautiful passage that talks about it in the book Heaven and Hell. I think it's chapter 8 of the last part that talks about the spirit of Marcel. Goes there and look at it. It's the story of little Marcel, and it's an example, a book Heaven and Hell, Marcel.
Chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
Yeah, I think it's chapter 8 or part
Okay.
8, part 8. I don't remember. It's to the end of the book
Okay.
when it's talk about, you know, spirits in better condition, and but I think the name is Marcel. I just forgot the chapter and the part, but I always remember about his story. I mean, it's a story that always impacted me, and it's about what you're talking about.
Mm.
Okay. All right. So I guess we can go to our final prayer.